All right, we've got our quorum. Ready to go.
And Jeff is on.
Oh, Jeff's on. Okay. Welcome everyone to tonight's select board meeting, Monday, February 12th. I'm Sabrina Dunlap. We have Ken Traum and Thomas Lampoma. I don't know what that noise was, but Jeff is on the phone. So since we have a quorum present, we can vote Jeff in, and Stephen is on his way too, I believe. So I'll move that we allow Jeff to join remotely.
Second.
We have to do roll call votes. I am a yes. Ken?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
All right, Jeff, you're in.
Thank you.
Okay, first up is points of pride.
Sure. I'm going to share two tonight, partly because they're both in the room, but Friday was the senior volunteer lunch, which thank you to Paula who puts that on, but also to all the seniors. The Slusher Center runs with volunteers, and there were how many volunteers? There were probably 50 people that you invited that take part throughout the year and volunteer there, whether they're on the desk or run the programs. All of those things are all volunteered. So thank you to them. And I've said it probably almost every meeting, but because Dan's here, I just want to thank the DPW and the fire trucks too, for the storms that they cover nights and weekends. And this hasn't been a bad week, but you never know when it's going to be. So thank you.
Yeah. I second that for sure. Ken?
I'll just add to Neil's comments. Thank Dan for saying that we're not going to have any snow tonight. Actually, I wanted to thank the budget committee. We had our last meeting prior to town meeting. Everything went as expected with a very difficult situation, and just want to thank them for all of their volunteer help.
Yes, I listened in. Was here for part of it and listened in, and lots of very thoughtful people and thoughtful comments on that committee. All right. Next up is administrative. And thank you, Ken, by the way, for being our rep on the budget committee. So well done. All right. So first we have approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda of February 12th, 2024.
Stephen's your usual seconder.
Second.
Okay, seconds. All right. We do a roll call vote. Ken?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Approval of the public meeting minutes of January 22nd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Ken?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thomas?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
All right. Three more for you, Jeff, to stay off mute. Approval of non-public meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2024, session 1.
I'll move and note they are not sealed.
Second.
Okay, Ken?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thomas?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
All right, those are approved. And next, approval of the non-public meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2024, session 2.
I'll move and note they are sealed.
Oh, second.
All right, Ken?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Thomas and Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, and then finally, the public meeting minutes from February 8th, 2024, which are those in our?
They are in the packet.
Oh yeah, okay, good. Oh yeah, that's our meeting. Fair.
I'll move it.
Okay, yes. All right, all those in favor, Ken?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Thomas and Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, so first up, under public appointments, we have 5:30 with rec/DPW regarding the skate park renovation. So Paula and Dan? Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you, Neil, for acknowledging the senior volunteers.
Oh.
So they do a great job and we're lucky to have them running the center during the day. So it's great. So a year ago, I had asked for a little bit of money so we could hire we could hire a company to look at renovating the skate park. And so what is before you today are the results of them putting out a survey to the community. And then taking that information, looking at the space that we currently have, taking the feedback and redesigning something. And there's also a cost estimate along with that. So. If we want to go, let's see here. The first thing I would like to say about the survey that was put out, it did go out to the community, but about half of the responses indicated they were from Hopkinton. So just a little information on that. So we had a couple, Dan, Greg, Neil, and I had a couple Zoom calls with the company. They got a feel from what we were looking for maintenance wise. Dan and Greg really had a lot of input. I will say one thing they asked us continually was, what's your budget? What's your budget? I said, I don't know, draw something up so we can see what we're looking at. That's not how towns in New England work. So we have to plan for these things. We just don't have a pot of money sitting there ready to go. So the materials that they quoted in there, and I'll let Dan speak to all the technical pieces, but it was a steel ramp material, not a wood surface, and that is what they were quoting. So if you look at the cost estimate, well, so I guess they proposed a plan, a design plan, and that was in the color. But broken down there in the cost estimate, they broke it into two phases, phase 1 and then phase 2. And you can see the phase 1 was about $295 and phase 2 was $173. So this is an incredibly expensive design. And so that's where we're at with that. We have the, according to the contract, we can go back to them for revision, and that's what I would like to do. But I need feedback from you so I can give them guidance as to where do you really want to head with this. So do you want to talk on the materials and why you chose the steel? Because I'm sure that
It's the longevity, and it's a little more maintenance free. The wood stuff is just constant maintenance. There's rotted pieces now that need to be rebuilt. There's 2 sections that are up at the highway department because they were beyond repair. So they need to be totally rebuilt from the ground up. And the skate light material is very expensive. It doesn't seem to last very long. So this is all steel, and it should last, according to these people, a lot longer. It'd be all powder coated, and whatever coating they put on it. I'm very unfamiliar with skate parks, so they have a coating that goes over it.
So there was a 20-year warranty on this material. So they can build the skate parks out of wood with the skate light on top. So basically what we have, and they warranty that for 5 years. And I'm not quite sure because Greg's not here to get an estimate on how long he thinks a piece of skate light lasts out there, but I would venture.
I would say somewhere around 4 years,
for,
if you're putting it on brand new subframe. If you put it on an older subframe where it's not quite true and level anymore, it's probably not gonna last as longer because it's gonna move and just keep working it and the screws in and out.
So wait, Paula, just to make sure, and Dan, I'm following the colorful. This that we're looking at, the total for this, there's phase one, which is at 295,
Mhm.
and phase two is 172.
Yeah.
And that's to do this whole thing with steel? Okay.
Correct. Now,
That's just for the ramps. We still need to, put a surface down on top of the hot top that's already there. Because they said it's out of level, it's been there for so long, everything's kind of settled and, so we will need to do something on top of the current hot top or rip it out and put a whole new pad down.
Is that something
We
they
cannot
could-
do that.
we can't do that? Okay.
We can do it, but it's not gonna be level. We don't have the machinery to do that.
So would that need to happen first before they did all these? Okay. And can they do that, or is it a different entity that would have to do the hot or the
I
new
I
surface?
think they said that they could work with, someone around this area
Okay.
to
Do we have
redo that.
ballpark of what that might
If
cost?
I had to guess, just by small jobs that have to come in, that's a very small job, so it's gonna cost more for a hot top. If I had to guess, it's probably gonna be a minimum 20,000.
Okay.
And then to resurface, like assuming all the steel frames or wooden frames are put in, what's the resurfacing with the pad?
I don't know what they put on top. I just know the hot top part would be
Okay.
somewhere around 20,000.
Okay.
I would probably dare to guess it'd be a little more than that, but
And how long ago was the current one installed?
20 years.
20 years ago.
Paula, in terms of the number of respondents to your survey, was it 105?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
So, and you said about half were in town. And there are others that say, some of the respondents a few times a year that they use the park.
I think the responses are all over the place as far as who uses it, when, the age range, what they're using as far as scooters, or bikes or skateboards. The results were very varied. I did break down the comments though, because I was interested to see what the Hopkinton residents had said. And, you know, the comments, where are they? People were happy to see that we were taking care of the park and, would like to see it continue. So, but people did indicate too, they liked what was there now. So as an option, we could go back to American Ramp or whatever, and ask for that design. I'm not sure if their ramps get as high as some of the ramps we have out there. So.
I guess where I'm coming from is maybe I'm concerned from everything, you know, I was hearing at the budget committee meetings, that to me, this appears as a want, not a need for the town. So I would think that we should, rather than coming to the select board or taxpayer monies, we should first be looking for donations primarily from parents of users.
Mhm. Well, I would like to know where to start with a plan, so, we can go forward, and I had outlined some suggestions. But we needed to know what, I don't think Dan is a skate park expert, but no, nor am I, nor is Greg, so we really did need to contact somebody who, that's their expertise. So fundraising is a possibility, but you can't put something out to the community and ask them to fundraise for something that we don't know what it's going to be, because we don't know even how much it's going to cost. So I would like to get this to a reasonable plan as to what would work here as far as the materials, the size, scope. So then we can see an actual number, because I feel like this number is very high for a skate park. And perhaps in a larger city, that's something that they could handle, but in a town of 6,000, that's a little steep. So I think what Dan and I would like from the select board is some direction as to, do you want to go back to wood and then have the DPW spend their time repairing it, because it's only going to last 5 years? This needs to be addressed. And what would you say?
I think we need to come up with a maintenance fund for the skate park
Mhm.
if we go back with wood, so we don't get into this spot again.
I mean, even if we went to metal, even if we were to do all of this, I'd still say a maintenance fund probably makes sense regardless. How far along is it currently? Like how long until the skate park is no longer really functional?
I think Greg said you could get a couple more years out of it possibly, but it's right around the corner.
Any way of estimating if it were wood, what the annual maintenance costs would be?
I wouldn't dare guess.
Okay. Yep.
But I mean, if we just took this quote to 20 years, we're looking at 30K in the CIP every year. And the history behind the skate park, it was a donation, or is that correct?
It was. There are probably people here that could speak
Yeah,
better
sure.
to that. It was
Yeah.
in memory.
Yeah.
And
The town. And until much later after.
any major renovation that's done has been done through fundraising. We've replaced skate, isn't that correct? We've replaced skate light, but other than that, we really have not. That there hasn't been town funds used on it.
So I'm looking at, we could get another estimate. Number 6, taking the current design, because this would be like a total rebuild overhaul with steel and everything. Okay. So find someone who could build each ramp from scratch with metal framing, replace ramp by ramp as needed. So that's also slightly different from the option of just replacing what's there piece by piece. Okay. So that's number 7. Continue to maintain what we have until the pieces are not maintainable. Okay.
But piece by piece, that would give us the option to resurface, right?
We'd have to, or Greg doesn't think we can move what's there. If we start moving it,
Yeah.
it's not gonna last,
Yeah.
so. We're kind of in a predicament. We could leave the surface that's there now. It's still functionable, but if we went with the option, the big option, it's gotta be done
Yeah.
before they come in.
Were you around when this first went in, Neil?
I was not.
Okay, I just was curious if the town had contemplated what maintenance would look like in the future. If there was like an understanding that the town would undertake.
Mr.
So-
Shumway may know the answer to that.
Can you fill in? Otherwise, we don't pick you up on the recording.
Thank you. We were asked to provide a fund of, I believe it was $15,000 to the town upon our completion of the volunteer construction of the park. That was, I think Selectman Kidder had made that request and that was fulfilled. Thank you.
Thanks.
In terms of coming up with another quote, a lower quote, or coming up with a different design, is that something that you feel comfortable doing, or do you think that's better done by someone else in the community who might be fundraising, or like looking at option 3 for community members to come on board to help fundraising? Do you feel comfortable taking on the lead of the design, or?
Well, all right, so the first question is, I am going to go back to American Ramp because that's in our contract. So I would like to at least walk away from the meeting today, knowing what you would like to see them put on paper. Now that you see what, the material that DPW would prefer, and taking feedback from the community as to what they like, and letting designers design something that knows skate parks.
Just for the conversations with this company, with that picture, I thought maybe we could break it down into 4 sections. They're like, no, you can't. It's gonna cost you way more money. Because they have to design stuff so it can be bolted together later. So I was hoping to, just maybe this year we can do a chunk, and then, but they said no. I think they said they could do possibly 3 sections, but any more than that would it'd be just wasting money.
And they said because they would have to break some of the ramps apart, then you're putting up rails behind some of the areas because you're waiting for the next section to be built. So you're paying for more pieces that you wouldn't actually need if you would have just done that at once. So
So if you went back to them, could we get, right, so there's the phases. Could we get them to do an estimate for like a rebuild with the current materials instead of steel?
So I could do that, ask them to take what's there and do wood. And skate light, I could ask them to just design what we have there and maybe quote out wood and the metal. So whatever you'd like to do.
Was the idea with the graphic, that's like a totally different ramp design and everything than what we currently have? And was that just because they wanted to give us something new
That's
and
what they
fresh
came up with the
for that
space.
space? Okay. Okay.
And they are designers and they are skaters. So
Mhm.
this is their passion. This is what they do for a living and have been doing. The company's been around for 20 years and they've built a lot of skate parks.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, I wonder, and this is just for us to all think about, if another option is to go to them with a dollar figure and see what sort of a plan they can put together, and then try to have someone in the community fundraise towards that plan. And then at that point, once set a fundraising goal, and then they can come to the town with a request for the town to contribute. Probably directly at town meeting, I would think.
Yes, that's option 3 under possible funding options, I think.
so we can do that if you want me just to go to them and say, we have $100,000. What can you make with that? And let them see.
Mhm.
And then whatever fundraising happens on top of that. We can do.
I mean, to Ken's point,
I think Stephen was saying something different. You can go to them and say, what can we get for $100,000? Then you go out and fundraise $100,000. I don't think, well, certainly I'm not saying that the town should commit $100,000 of taxpayer monies.
yeah,
That I'm concerned about. If town meeting wants to do that, that's fine.
yeah, just to clarify, I mean, I
Okay.
agree with Ken's concern about, it being a really tight budget season and this being a want instead of a need. And so, yeah, I'm not up here saying that the town ought to commit any dollars to this right now, but just to sort of get some sort of fundraising going within the community, it might be more achievable if it was a lower number than, $300,000 for phase one, over $500,000 for the entire project.
Okay, so you're dumping like all the fundraising in the lap of the rec department to repair the skate park, which is how that feels right now.
I think it should be a community member that fundraises.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
But we're not offering right now to find a community member. So it kind of is,
If I had suggestions,
I know, right?
I would voice them. I don't unfortunately have suggestions, but I'm not saying that that should be within your job though, to do that.
Do you have any ideas about who a community member might be?
so I think it would be a matter of putting it out there.
Yeah.
Last time we needed repairs done, Sarah Persicino stepped up and she put together a GoFundMe. And that was $15,000, not whatever we're gonna need here, $100,000 or more. So this is a substantial amount of money. So I'm still like, I feel like the wheels kind of spinning around. So we need to get started somewhere, but you don't know where to start till you know how much money you have to work with. And so now, still not knowing, I need to get back to them. Where do I start here?
I was gonna say, I think if we go back to them, because we can, I would be in favor of looking at what's there now, because some people seem to like it. That's a good thing. And what could we get? What would the estimate be for a wood version? Which I understand is not ideal because of the upkeep, but you know, that's probably better than doing nothing / taking it down, or the steel option for the current design. Like, could we get under, could our goal be to be in the like, you know, $200,000 range? I don't know if that's something where then the select board could commit half of that and then see if the community could raise $100,000. I'm just throwing these out there. I don't know if this is, you know, realistic, but. what do you
Yeah,
say?
I was gonna echo that, but maybe be a little bit more specific on it, which is if we have the option for the current plan, in the two different options, because then that can also give us a price breakdown on what we'd have to commit to for a CIP to keep it updated, the wood versus the steel. And then with that, in the meantime, while that's happening, we could reach out to community members to see if there might be someone who could commit to something to help with fundraising. If they can give us some idea of how much they think is possible, then that could give us a range of what we'd be looking at next year for trying to raise versus talk about through a warrant. And then if we can fundraise, then try to match it, and then we could have something.
So does it make sense to go back to them for the request of the current design, but see what it would be with like the current materials, which I guess is wood, and then also maybe steel? Okay.
So the current being what's out there right now.
I think so. Yeah, the design.
The
Yeah.
design that's. out
I
there.
think unless, because I would imagine like a whole new design would be more expensive, no matter what, would be my guess. But I don't know, maybe not. Like maybe they could, if they could come up with like a lower cost design, that would be interesting. But my hunch is that what is there, if we just rebuilt it with different materials, would be cheaper than doing a full blown. I mean, I'm sure as cool as that is, unless we have someone step up and tell us they're gonna help with 500 grand, I feel like that's probably out of reach in the short term for us, unfortunately. So unless they had like a lower cost design, that would still be fun. I don't know, maybe that's, I don't know if that's an option. I mean, I guess we aren't giving you a firm number, which is annoying. I realize that, but if we know, ballpark 500 grand is probably out of reach. If maybe we said ballpark 200, I don't know. Do you guys still think that seems?
I think the reason why I'm having a hard time coming to a number is I think there has to be a significant fundraising portion associated with it. And I have no idea what that number might be. Like if the
Yeah.
last fundraising round, if originally it was paid for through fundraising, that's one thing. But then if the last fundraising round was 15K to support it, those are two very different numbers. So it's like without knowing a little bit more about what the community might be willing to put into it, it's hard to know.
Okay. So how about this? How about if I go back to American Ramp? I will get the estimate for what we currently have out there in wood and metal. And then we will bring that back to you to look at, so you know the numbers. And then we can see if that's something you like, if you want to go with looking at, I mean, there's still the option of getting another estimate.
Mhm.
You know, is there somebody local that can rebuild piece by piece, or I don't know. It may not be somebody who's knowledgeable on skate parks, but yes, you want to do that? You want to rebuild a skate park?
So maybe, I guess, so Paula, with that new estimate, if they come, if American, whatever it is, comes back and it's still like 400 grand or something, then maybe we're going back to like looking at a whole new company to do an estimate. But if they came back with something like half of that cost, that may be something that we could work with more realistically. So current state, where you think they said we're still probably okay for like a couple years. It's not like it needs to be redone in the next
Without
year.
ripping it apart and seeing what's underneath it,
Yeah.
just a guess.
Okay. All right. So are you guys okay with that in terms of going back to them and asking for that estimate?
Yeah, yes, you know, it being clear that the select board is not committing to any dollars, certainly at this point.
That sound okay? to
Yeah,
you?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, so I'm guessing I would love to hear from people who are here to talk on this issue and not have everyone have to wait through our other issues if there are people who would like to speak, but unless Paula and Dan, if you have anything else. Well, thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
So if anyone wants to offer their thoughts on the skate park, we welcome those right now.
Sure.
And if you can just use the mic so we can pick you up on the recording. You can also wait until later in the meeting. We'll have another public comment.
I might give a little history.
Okay.
I'd rather not stand up. Wow. We raised about $150,000 for the original park. We got grants, from family, friends, banks. We wrote grants, took about a year or more. We had a lot of in-kind donation of labor. It was built, primarily by local people and local tradesmen. So it was a for real community effort, and it was an exciting time, but the original people are now, I'm in my 70s, that I'm not thinking I'm gonna do that again. So I don't know, whatever happens, it's up to another generation of families. Families in this town express a lot of wants, but they need to have sort of a commitment to contributing as well. And so this is a good way for them to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Carol Carn. Along with the Shumways, we were the original families that initiated the idea of the skate park and had it completed with the grants and the monies. It was completed in 2003 and opened, had a, opening then. And the estimated time frame or lifetime, I guess, of the park was 30 years, given the pressure treated lumber and the skate light and the frames. My husband has been going over there along with Donald and friends for years, just going over and eyeballing the ramps and the underside, taking walls off and looking under there and see how things are going. And just screwing, that's going over with his screw gun and fixing what he sees. Initially, the town had said that they would contribute something, $1,000 a year, something for maintenance, for a couple of new sheets of sheet light. And as far as I know, like that just never happened. For whatever reasons, the turnover of the selectmen, the turnover of whoever, I don't know, I think that at some point, it should be presented to the town as a vote. And like, how do you feel about the skate park? Are you interested in seeing it continue as an adult playground for this town and surrounding areas? Because that's what it is. You know, there's just as many adults over there as there are kids and families. You know, we happen to be passionate about it, you know, because we built it when we lost our sons. And it's just honestly heartbreaking to see it not supported by the town. And if you asked anybody, you know, do you think the town should contribute 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 a year to maintain this place that everybody does love? I think the vote would be yeah. You know, I don't know. We just would like to see more support, because other than our own fundraisers, you know, Sarah was a student of mine, of ours, you know, and she's just one that happens to live in town and loves the skate park and now has children who want to see using it. It just would be nice to put it out there, I think, in March for a vote, for the town to vote, going, hey, this is what it needs now. It is 20 years open, and the lifetime is 30. You know, what they said that the wood, the skate light, and the pressure treated lumber frames are all good for. So I wish my husband was here, but he couldn't be tonight because he could be more eloquent on what it needs and what it takes. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Don Show. I just want to say thank you for your considerations.
Thank you, Don. Paula, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted,
Can you use the microphone? They can't hear you. You don't.
I just wanted to make note that for several years, the rec department did fund several $1,000s in skate light recently. So I don't know about years before me, but it was in the budget there for several years. But I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. Anyone online want to say anything about the skate park? Anyone else here? Okay. Well, sure.
So I think I heard they got 105, they did a survey and they got like 105 responses. Any reason why we wouldn't get more than 100 and half weren't in town? I'm just kind of in my mind trying to figure out. We had like 100, let's say 50 people in town said something and 50 people outside. I guess outside is Concord, Warner, somewhere else, right? Is that, I'm just, right? So why, I mean, I don't know how wide the distribution was in terms of why you think we got 50 back in town, right? Does that
Are you asking why?
does that signify that somebody, that people just don't care, or they just?
Oh, why it was only 50?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why so little?
I don't know. Was it put on like Facebook or something, or?
Like I would think you would get more,
Thanks, Paul.
like more feedback, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Thank
an
you.
interesting question.
So it was on the rec department Facebook. It was on posters down at the skate park. So it was distributed, but you know, my Facebook site goes out to all communities, and people who use the park felt inclined to respond from
Mhm.
outside. So we do have outside users here. So
Yeah,
we're repairing the skate park for the community, and if outside users come to use our park, I mean, we don't have a lock keeping them
Yeah.
out. So, yeah, and I would say 50 responses on a survey, I don't think it's that bad. When you have surveys, you typically don't get too many responses on a survey. I wish there was more, but, yeah, so.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
thank
just
you.
echo that. I know the housing committee has been trying to put a survey together to get as much information as possible, and they've been incredibly active soliciting feedback, and they're pulling teeth to get in the 10-20% range. So it's hard to get people to respond.
So it sounds like our plan is in place. And to your point, Carol, I appreciate hearing from you all who have the history and understand and appreciate the significance of the skate park, and what it means. And so I think, you raise a good point. We might get this estimate back, and maybe, probably not this year, but maybe next year we are in a position where there's a sort of blunt question to the town. This is going to cost 500 grand to do it right. Are we going to do it or are we not? So we might get to that point. Hopefully not. Hopefully we find a path forward that's not going to cost $500,000, but we'll see. So I think we've got our next step in place and more to come, but appreciate you all coming out and appreciate your comments. So thank you for being here. Thank you to Dan and Paula too. So I think that will close our discussion on the skate park for now. And we can move on to old business. First up is transfer station fees.
So you have what you talked about last time. You have what Dan did, and Dan's here. And then the compilation of kind of the two of those. The one you received tonight was Dan updated, and mainly the change had to do with construction debris. Were the two changes there.
To change the to change the ordinance, we have to have a public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes,
Does this constitute the public hearing, or
this is not,
Does
this is
not
not a
constitute,
public,
okay.
you're,
Great.
so last time you met with Webster.
Yeah.
And came up with this, and you had some questions. I can't do two things at once, sorry. And so those have been answered in what Dan has there, and he can answer more questions. But that's basically where you're at. And then wherever you come up tonight, we'll send to Webster just with those open questions that were there. Anything you want to?
There's one other line in here, the residential hired truck. How is that different from the commercial or the residential single person? Or just what is the residential hired truck?
It's, people hire a truck to come pick up their trash.
Okay.
Bring it in and dispose of it.
So so that'd be like a commercial hauler, but it wouldn't be
It'd be just residential. trash.
residential,
They pick-
only
they
residential
pick
trash.
it up.
Okay.
So when I started for the town, I started at the transfer station, and they were never charged for residential trash. Because each stop they stop and pick up is less than 400 pounds. So it's like, what they're doing is actually helping us, the transfer station, out by not all those people not coming in to the transfer station and clogging up the transfer station.
Dan, when you started, that was before green bags?
Yes, way before green bags.
Oh, those were
How
the
did
days.
How did the process change when screen bags went into effect?
They started charging, I don't know exactly when they started charging for residential trash coming in. But when I was there, they charged, commercial and the residential trash. I mean, they picked it up separately. So, and if someone had over 400 pounds at their house, they estimated they wouldn't pick it up with the residential. They'd go back and get it with the commercial trash.
Since before I was here, they were charging for residential. I don't know how long before that.
It would still cost the 93.13 per ton.
So that commercial line would be like someone doing construction at their house or something? Or they had like a huge load?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Um, while green bags were in effect, but pre-pandemic, um, how was Webster's trash handled? Were they charged, per ton?
From a commercial hauler?
Yes.
Yeah, so when they started charging for residential, any commercial hauler hauling trash in would have to pay for it.
But, for Hopkinton Hall, loads being hauled from Hopkinton that were in green bags, they were not charged.
Correct.
Wait, we're charged.
Were not if they were green bags.
No, if they're agreement, yeah, okay.
So,
And that's the case now.
so pre-pandemic, how was the rate determined for those, haulers, say from Webster that were hauling residential?
Well, I believe since the rates have not been changed in quite a while, they're still paying the old rates.
And the old
So it
rates,
would, these numbers in front of you that I put would be the new rates. This is currently what it costs to get rid of it.
And the fee was what we paid for tipping, which here is represented by the 93.13, for example. That's what it was previously. The whatever the amount, that's how it had been done. Does that answer your question?
It's just whatever the cost was.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Wait, that is the most updated thing we discussed, right?
This is based on what you discussed at your
Right.
last
What
meeting
is-
and what Dan provided.
This is.
That's
what
from
Dan-
Dan.
Those numbers are up there, were our best estimates of talking with, those were us putting numbers up.
Right.
Okay.
And there,
Some guidance, and
but
these
there-
numbers came
but there were a lot of those numbers that you discussed last time that you wanted to defer. So they actually
Mhm.
have been updated with
Yep.
Dan's numbers.
Yeah, so the sheet that I handed out, I got together with Jolene, we went through
Yep.
all the
Mhm.
paperwork. And this is the actual cost
Got it.
to ship stuff out.
Thanks.
But it only covers the cost.
Correct.
Yeah.
It only covers the costs when we're talking about tipping fees, but when we get to, construction debris, there's also a hauling fee involved.
Yes, and I've incorporated that into my
Yeah.
sheet.
The tipping fee number includes hauling.
So to
What-
get the hauling fee for construction debris, it's $400 a load, regardless of the weight. So I just averaged out all the numbers that Jolene had for tonnage going out, just averaged them and divided it by the 400, which gives you the per ton cost for hauling and fuel surcharges.
So these numbers. The income this would bring in would basically be a wash. There wouldn't be any net revenue based on this. Is that,
Correct.
yeah, okay.
There were some smaller things that were added in because we were not charging for it.
Yeah,
Julian has since found we are paying fee to get rid of some of this stuff.
okay.
Fire extinguishers, smaller propane
Mm-hmm.
tanks. The tire fees have changed. We used to be able to put it in the hopper a certain amount, but they've since done away with that. So now we have to hire a company to come in and take the tires away.
And see, there would be a net revenue increase. There just wouldn't be a net profit increase.
Yeah.
There's no profit.
Right.
Yeah, I don't use the term profit.
Right, but there is a net
No
revenue.
margins.
But it's a wash at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of the total revenue that you'd receive under your schedule, how does that compare to the total revenue as billed today?
This would be an increase, probably significantly, because we're charging rates from back when Steve Clow was here.
Some of those rates are.
I don't know the date of when the last fee schedule was put out, but it has not changed since then.
Because one of my concerns at our last meeting when Webster was here was that we had built into our budget for 2024, I believe it was $80,000 of additional revenues coming from fees at the transfer station. Now, are you saying that under this new proposed schedule, we would still be coming close to 80,000 more?
I have no idea.
I think the total amount and the fee schedule are two separate issues. So I think you need to figure out the fees and then we'll figure out the total amount. I don't think you want to build your fee schedule to your budget. And I think we're okay with the budget. We can figure that out.
Yeah, Dan, this is really helpful. Thank you for putting this together.
Yeah.
So Dan, if it's not on your sheet, are you and Jillian saying we don't need to charge for it?
As of right now, I would say no, it might be too little to mess with.
Yeah,
We don't want to get into getting a smaller scale and weighing a lot of stuff coming in. It's going to create a massive backlog unless you hire more people.
okay.
And then at that point, is it really worth charging, for the smaller weighted stuff? And is it going to cover the cost of a new employee
Right, right.
or a couple employees?
Okay.
That's something you would have to decide.
There was an off-hour emergencies. I'm not seeing that on your list, Dan.
It's on this list.
I might have bypassed it.
Because you discussed that last time, so it was on. this list.
Right. Oh, so you're okay with the thought of
60.
the staff hourly rate plus $60?
So charging someone to
Yes.
come in on, yeah, I have no issues with that at all.
Are mattresses on this?
They're not, mattresses
Okay.
go in the hopper
Okay.
and they're under 400 pounds. So if someone brought a mattress in, they don't pay for it.
I think I had one I moved that was definitely over 400.
with the permit sticker, I think it was, Webster Chair had suggested the $5.
Mhm.
And you have zero.
Well, it's a $1 fee right now, and I know like people complain about paying $1 for a sticker.
We haven't charged it since pay by bag started. That was the decision that was made, so it has not been a cost. But I think as you look at the whole program and how we do stickers, that could be relooked at them, but I think it's not a significant amount of money. I think making sure everybody has stickers is more important than the collecting money.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, Ken?
I guess what I want to get a feeling for is under Dan's proposed rates plus the off-hour emergencies, what the estimated annual revenues would be. Because I still want to compare that to the budget.
That's something that we can
Uh,
get.
We
Or-
can give
we
our
could do
best
that.
shot at it.
Yeah,
I can't right this minute.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm not.
We're gonna have to go back and look at tonnage of
Mhm.
trash that was billed, demolition. Ballpark on white goods coming in, that sort of thing. Off our emergencies are not a regular occurrence, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, like the white goods and stuff seems like it's probably not gonna be a significant number based on the current projections for the commercial waste next time. With the rough increase looks like an increase of around $65,000 based on the construction debris changes.
I think that's where you're making up most of your revenue. I just want to, maybe you can walk through this and compare it to Dan's, and we could get one list
Yeah.
Mhm.
to make sure we
Yeah.
all have the same
Yeah.
numbers. That would be
So starting with sticker.
Are we trying to say what we think it should be?
Yes.
yeah, if you can come to a decision on each of these so that we have one list.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, the permit sticker, I generally feel like there's. It might, there's a lot of people that need stickers currently, so there might be one small bump, but it's not like a revenue thing.
Mhm.
And it's probably easiest to just give them out when people register their cars, like you should just. The goal is to get everyone to have a sticker. I would definitely be in favor of not charging for it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, especially if we're going to be looking to doing more enforcement in other areas, then you certainly need the sticker.
Yeah, I agree.
And it may be that oh, sure. That we do stickers more often, so.
Waiting for Thomas and Jeff to come try it out.
Is Jeff still on?
Jeff went off about 5 minutes
Oh,
ago.
okay. Okay. Neil, do you mind making that a little bigger? I'm struggling.
sure.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so we landed at 120 last time with Webster. And what you've given us, Dan, is the actual cost here, right? Yeah.
Or zero.
Hmm?
Well. The number here is zero, like apparently used to be zero
For residential hired truck.
for residential hired truck.
But that's not
That's with the assumption will be under 400 pounds.
No,
That would be the assumption
that'd
that
be
each house that he picks up is under
Yeah.
400 pounds.
Which I don't think that's what the number should be, but philosophically it makes sense. Cause it's the same price that anyone else is paying.
Except unless it's green bags.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Well,
what,
how much are we gonna like, do we wanna separate green bag discussion completely from this, or do we wanna?
I feel like our momentum is we are moving forward into another year with green bags. That's sort of where I am. So I think,
We need to
There's-
price them, right? So we
correct,
need
yeah,
to,
we've
like-
got to price them, but I think we've talked a lot about like, I mean, just getting rid of them, but we don't seem to have a great, we can't land on something besides them. So I feel like all of these discussions should be based on the assumption that we are keeping green bags and we need to set the price on them.
Right, but I'm saying is the discussion could incorporate the change in price.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we have not set.
Do we wanna go through the rest of these, then come back to
Mhm,
tipping fee? I think a lot of them are the same, right?
mhm. Yeah, I think that's the
I think the
one
rest are
sticky
easy.
one.
It's
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
Yeah,
one.
so brush and stumps, we have 10 and
They're the same.
20. Metals, no charge. Construction,
Construction's pretty close.
Actually, this is just rounded off.
Okay.
So the construction debris is the same, basically.
Yeah, it was based on those
Oh,
numbers,
okay.
or maybe the original numbers.
white goods with refrigerant.
What was the thought behind doing $10 versus 15 for those? Do you remember?
For the white goods?
Yeah.
'Cause that's how much it costs for us to. get
Oh,
rid
that's
of
the
it.
disposal fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you want 10 or 15?
Yeah, why did we have 15 on here?
I-
We have notes there. Ken.
You came up with that last week.
Recommended.
Oh, right. This involved our discussions, our recommendations from Andrea.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it matching the disposal fee.
So white goods 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Tires are all the same.
Will you scroll down, Neil?
And I think those are actually higher than you had them last week.
tires?
Yeah.
Based on actual costs, so.
Okay.
So these already got shifted.
Right.
So were you gonna keep demo the same as what's up there or what I had? Just for my reference.
The construction demo? So instead of the 141.85, doing the 150?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're gonna keep the 150 or the 141?
How about if we do 145? Because your number changed from I did it based on your previous
So
number.
when I did this originally, I was in between storms and I tried to get this done as quick as I could and it just ballparked. Then the other day I went through and was just adding up all the tipping fees. So we came, that number actually dropped some.
145 is your suggestion, Neil?
Yes.
That sounds fine.
And actually, I'm good if that next one changes to 115, which is what Dan has.
Yep.
Okay, so electronics, looks like they're all. Turned out.
Before we do that, for the tires, we had tried to do it by dimension. And I don't know if you guys thought a different way to sort of classify it would be better.
So this is how we're getting charged for it. Basically, passenger car and light trucks
Okay,
is $5 and commercial truck and trailer, like tractor trailer tires are 21. And your larger farm equipment tires are the 80.
okay.
That's how it's broken down with Jolene.
Okay.
Electronics, we're good. Fire extinguishers.
And that electronic fee is for anyone who brings a television or a monitor, right?
Correct, whether it's residential or commercial.
Okay, because I think the Waste Reduction Committee put out information this morning in a last email that said there was no charge, so we'll follow up with that.
Okay.
I don't believe there's a charge right now.
Thought there was, but maybe not. I'll check, we'll check.
No, yeah, as we said, no fire extinguisher or charge for propane tanks that you guys suggested at least.
I had a $10 charge for fire extinguishers.
Yeah, they added those actually.
Oh, is it back? Oh, thank you.
And you're under 20 pound, basically you're camping Coleman stove, propane tanks are $2 a piece, 20 pounders are 3, and we just generalized an over 20. Because we don't get a lot of those in the transfer stations. We just tried to, I mean, your 100 pound tanks cost a little more, but you get maybe one of those a year. So we just kind of lumped them all into one larger category.
Yeah.
Neil, sorry, just to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. This fee schedule exists somewhere online, right? Or a formula?
Not this one, because this is the new one.
So is the only, I think I've seen something like this though, because now I'm only finding the one on the site that's from 2012.
Yeah, there's a more updated one than that.
Right, that's
but-
what I thought, because the one that's listed on the website right now is from 2012 and lists tires by size.
Correct. That was back when we were
That was, yeah,
disposing of them differently.
I think there's another one of these somewhere. Okay.
Dan, for the items that there is a charge for today, do people comply? Is there any issues with compliance?
Only the stuff that we find on the side of the road that they did not comply. As far as I know, there's no issues over there. Some people gripe, but
It's good to hear.
that would be a better question for Jolene anyway. Next time you're over there, ask her.
Okay.
Because she deals with it day in, day out.
Okay, so I think that's everything except for the tipping fee issue. Look like you want to say something.
To me, it ties into what we want to do with green bags and to what extent do we want to try to get people back into the habit of using green bags. And to me that town meeting has said green bags, so we should be trying to get as much as possible to get our residents to use green bags.
So what would you want to have those be if they're not 93 and 13 cents?
I would go back to pre-pandemic rules that residential haulers in Hopkinton can only bring green bags to the station. And as far as what the charge to Webster is, I think Webster should have a say in that part.
The only problem I have with that though, is that there's no requirement that the waste goes to the transfer station. And so it gives people the ability to just pay more to avoid using the system.
And that,
But it's no cost to us then. I mean, if
So-
they're not bringing their trash to us, why do we care?
Because the purpose of the green bag program is to reduce waste. And so if you create a system where
And so that's why it feels. Sure.
Shifting things a bit at the transfer station to hopefully maybe we can do more on compliance there in terms of, you know, we've hired a new person. Well, we've funded, put in our budget, hoping to hire a new person. So I think that there's still work to be done to like try to make the green bag system work better. I feel like I hear you on the shift to residential pickup, but it feels like something that maybe wouldn't be quite so simple. Like would so the town would have what, like an agreement with a single hauler who would do all the,
Yeah, well, I think we'd have to offer it to all the haulers, but yeah, there'd be a hauler that would get, because right now in our ordinance, we charge haulers who bring green bags a different rate. So we already have it in our ordinance
I
that,
thought our ordinance, doesn't it say that they have to be in town?
yes,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
the haulers don't have to be in town, the trash has to be in town.
Yes.
So
And
right
there's-
now.
And there's no charge for,
For green
green
bags.
bags.
So
For green
that's what I'm
bags.
saying though. Right now,
Yeah.
in our current ordinance, we have a scenario where we are charging haulers that bring green bags a different price than or than whatever else. Zero. We also have in our ordinance a setback price that brings in revenue to offset those costs.
Mhm.
So if we push them further in the direction opposite each other, they effectively do curbside pickup. We would have to make sure that there's a hauler that could do the entire town. You can't do it partly, but
And I think that I don't disagree with that end goal. I think one of my points is that I think if we're gonna make a big shift like that, we're gonna need buy-in sort of ground up for that. I don't know if that's something that we as the board can sort of do and then just expect everyone to follow through with that. And I think town meeting is probably the primary place where that ought to be discussed and voted on, even if it's an advisory article. I just think that that's probably where the most people in town show up to have those conversations. I mean, we have these items on the agenda all the time. Sometimes we get 2 or 3 people, sometimes we get, today is a fairly big crowd and we have, less than 20. It's usually the same.
no, I totally, I agree.
And I think there's some things we have to work through. And I think there's gonna be hurdles that maybe we're not anticipating or that make things more complicated, and I just think it's gonna take some work. And I think that we need to get our ducks all in a row before we go and present it to the voters, because they're probably gonna have lots of questions that we need to have answers to if we want them to buy into this.
Can I interject something?
Please.
By no means do I want trash packers within the highway department, so please keep that. I get enough issues now. Hire it out, please.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So given where we are, where I feel like we're sort of in this in-between realm, I think we need to set the price for the green bags. Maybe it's not $4.50. Maybe we get there. And the goal is to have pickup, but I feel like that's not going to happen tonight. And that still leaves us needing to decide on the tipping fee, which we landed on 120. That's what Webster was comfortable with. I don't see a reason to move off of that.
That's what I'm saying though, if the people who are using green bags, the purpose of the green bags is to pay $93 a ton, then there's no reason why the hauler should pay any different. We're like, if we're charging them more than $93 a ton, we're basically just saying these 400 households, we're gonna charge them.
so really your tipping fee and your green bag fee should match.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
whatever it is that they should match.
Mhm. Okay, so can you crunch those numbers for us?
Well, they're basically the numbers they are now, right? The
Okay.
numbers, the current number, the number sheet that you sent out, Neil, the green bags basically cover the tipping fees.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've got it figured, so the small brings in about $99.75 a ton and large brings in $100 a ton.
And that's based on the 9313 tipping fee.
That's based on the 75 cents for a small bag and 125 for a,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's.
okay.
So if you set it at 120, then the bag prices should be changed to match
Proportion.
that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we can figure that. That's relatively easy to figure out.
Yeah.
Once you have a price, you're
Or the green bags should stay the same and the price of the tonnage should be 93. Either or.
I don't think Jeff is gonna be happy with that.
What, not changing the bag?
Yeah,
I think he'd be stoked about curbside pickup.
I think so too, but I don't think we're quite there. But we haven't changed the price of the bags in
ever.
ever,
Ever.
right? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the price of the bags originally was kind of set semi-arbitrarily.
It was negotiated. But
That is a, yeah, better word.
because there were people who wanted it set at the price of the tipping fee. There are also people who wanted it set higher to encourage recycling. So
Right.
somewhere
I
in
mean,
the
that's the
middle.
thing, is like,
that
I
range
think
was
we might want to think
reached.
about raising it a little bit since it's been around so long. We have never raised it. And if you want to get at like behavior and thinking about the cost of running the transfer station, and how expensive it is to deal with trash, it seems like raising it a bit might make sense. And have them still match so that it's fair. I don't know what that number is though. What are you looking at, Ken?
I'm trying to figure out if we went to a tipping fee of 120, we
what
talked
the-
about, the large bag would be what, 160 maybe?
Are you crunching that number?
What?
Figuring out what the bag would cost if we had a 120 tipping fee.
$150.
150?
$1.50 for the large bag?
Mhm.
Thank you, Neil. They're currently 125.
And 90 for the small, brings you to the 120.
So for, let's see, a roll. So Thomas, are you in thinking like we should just not change it and just keep it 93 and keep the green bag price the same?
I think we should either do that or we should do something significantly different. I think for 20 years, we've had basically a non-functioning system. And we're semi-arbitrarily choosing $120 a ton and then saying, let's raise the bag price to match that and hope it changes something about the current system that is not super functional. The entire outcome of the 2015 committee on green bags was we need to have curbside pickup to make something really function. Yeah, I mean, and my other huge point is that there's still a significant portion of the town who has an outside hauler. And we're like, by increasing the price per ton, we're basically saying you're paying extra to pay for your waste, which is the goal of the green bag. But we're saying because it's not available to everyone and all these other people can just not partake in the system at all, they don't have to deal with it. So I'm not super in favor of like an incremental step.
Okay.
I'm much more in favor of either doing something significant or I'm also very comfortable having a warrant article to get rid of the greenback.
Okay.
Do you see any value in increasing the cost of green bags, not to hit a certain revenue or to match any sort of tipping fee, but just to try to encourage the behavior to waste less?
Absolutely. That's the entire function of all the pay-by bags. And if you
So-
look across the state, that's the entire function. But
Right.
Right now, we just have a program that only about 12% of the town uses. And if we then make it impact haulers, who all those people have a very easy and convenient option to no longer take part of it, that 12% is going to decrease even more.
I mean, I feel like the choice to the town at some point, I don't know if it's this year or next year, I think this year is a little soon, ought to be, you know, either we're gonna go full bore on curbside pickup or do away with the greenbacks. That seems to be the choice.
See,
It doesn't help us
I-
today. deal
But
with-
that's what I'm saying. I think it feels like a significant option, but we could just increase the bag price and it only affects the 200, like right away, it could only affect the 200 households that are doing it. And it wouldn't actually change anything about their situation. Because they'd be paying the exact same price they're paying now. It's just they would be paying for it in green bags instead. And then if that works, expand it to more households. And there's no, it feels like a significant thing because I think every time someone talks about curbside pickup, it is a significant thing. But we already have haulers who are picking up green bags. We already have set prices for those haulers. We already have pricing for the green bags. We don't have to change a single thing.
Yeah, well,
It doesn't even need to be available to all people right now. It could be only available to the people who are currently using the green bags.
This sounds like a nightmare for staff.
Well, the staff,
Really?
the staff aren't involved.
But
That's
what
what I'm
you're
saying. is there's no
suggesting
change.
though is just saying, going
Our-
back to
us
what we
here.
did before, which is saying if you're bringing trash in, it has to be green bags. And then the people who are picking it up, it has to be,
No, we would charge more for the green bags, and instead of paying $0 a hauler, we would pay them, and then we would also get the haulers on board to expand their pickup.
yeah. Like that piece feels like I don't know how we have to do like an RFP or something for like haulers, like I
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Need
then,
contracts with the haulers.
yeah, we'd have to have, yeah. So that's not a quick thing.
I agree that that's not a quick thing, but starting that process. There's no significant delay on starting that process, and there's no warrant article. There's nothing that we need to have done by March.
We've kicked this issue down the road so much. I'm in favor of going with the 120 and the corresponding bag price now. And you can examine, over the next 9 months, what it is, because we've gone down that road already.
agree, but you're just telling me to kick it down the road again. You're saying have another 9 months to kick down the road.
Because it's already been looked at.
Okay, then we should get rid of the program. If we don't have a better option, then we have a better option, then.
That may be appropriate, is to get rid of green bags, but right now we've got green bags. Whether you want to say we're stuck with them or not, that's what town meeting has said. So we should try to do as much as we can, to make green bags, effective.
I would just say that a year ago, that same decision was made, and here we are with nothing changed.
Yes.
So,
Well, it's not nothing changed. I mean, are you saying like, are we all saying like then compliant? Like, we never really got into the nitty gritty on compliance. It's like we've hired another person at the transfer station. But I don't feel like we haven't had like a in-depth discussion about like stickers, for example, and like checking them. And like we've sort of dabbled in the compliance piece, but I'm not sure that we've fully explored it.
so
Unless I'm missing.
you all commit to compliance, we make it happen. Or here again, we've either got to do the program or not do the program.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, we've spent a lot of time right here.
Yes, I know.
I was just gonna say that to me, the compliance roadblock is the staffing and cost associated with it. And we increased the cost of the transfer station, but wasn't necessarily specific to compliance. I mean, there are other reasons why they needed more staffing at the transfer station, so. We can do that, but it'll be, more money and we'll need more people at the transfer station.
That one person's not gonna be enough if you wanna start regulating who's got green bags, who's got stickers.
Yeah.
That one full-time person was basically to find more adequate staff to handle the workload that needs to be done. The best way I can put it.
Yeah, separate and apart from green bags. Yeah.
It's sort of a little bit off, this issue is, metal that's, put there for recycling at the transfer station. I hear that individuals come and take it and then they sell it. Would that be, an area for more compliance?
It all depends on how you look at it. Someone that takes stuff out is recycling. If you want the revenue for it, then you would have to say no more of that.
Hmm.
We're gonna need more people to help regulate. You have to have someone standing there saying, don't touch that.
Would just having signs up there be a start? I just wonder if you have someone there for a week every once in a while, that's,
It would help, yes, but it's not gonna solve the issue. Then you might get into some confrontation as well.
Mhm.
People have been doing that for years and years and years.
Well, I guess I look at it as they're stealing from the town. If there's a sign up there, it says,
Yep.
you know.
I'm just saying you're gonna have some issues. I would put money on that.
Mhm.
We can put the signs up. We'll have issues. And then you'd have to regulate, have someone sitting there for X amount of time watching over the pile itself.
Yeah, we're looking at how do we change habits?
Yep.
That's always a problem.
Yep. I think we're gonna get into the more staff.
Mhm.
Okay, so. I think, a lot of this is not rational, which is frustrating. But I think we're in a position where I don't feel great about the idea of us right now being like, okay, we have not gotten a petition warrant article to get rid of green bags, right?
Nope.
Right, okay, so,
You could still add one.
We
but-
could add one.
but
I
the
would not-
petition deadline is over.
yeah. So I wouldn't feel great about that right now. And so I would not be in favor of doing that, not because I think the green bag program works or is great. And I guess we don't have a great plan on compliance moving forward. But because I just feel like you know, that's something we should have talked about, like seriously talked about getting rid of it and being done with it like months ago, not right now. That's just my thought on it. So that leaves us in this position of, I'd be in favor of just not changing anything, and we sort of muddle along in this bizarro netherworld where nothing actually makes sense, and some people use green bags and some don't. And keep the fees matched to the green bags and don't change them, but then have like a really serious conversation about either getting rid of green bags entirely or really trying to do this curbside pickup idea, which I think is a great idea, and I think it is doable. I just feel like we're in this weird time frame where I guess this isn't tied to, like, to your point, we don't have to tie it to town meeting, which is nice. So, but it does feel like for purposes of where we are, the best path is to just keep this tipping fee, tie it to the green bags, which it is, and not make any major changes, and revisit this in a real and meaningful way. Because otherwise we're just gonna be here all night debating, like, I don't even know what anymore, so.
So is that $100 tipping fee to match the bag price? Is that?
Is that what that would be? Okay, yeah,
That's
so to
basically
match the
it.
bags, it would be $100. Yeah, that's my proposal. I don't think it's great. I don't think this is like, you know, the best solution to anything, but we're finding this has been this sort of like intractable problem for the town for like over a decade. And yeah, so for a very long time. And I do think, okay, so more than a decade. So I just think where we sit right now with not a ton of great options, this is probably our best option for the moment. So that's what I would be in favor of.
I will second that suggestion. And I want us to give ourselves a deadline to have, you know, some sort of a proposal that we can discuss with the haulers, with the other interested stakeholders, to see if, you know, we can feel like we can make a recommendation for the following year.
Yeah.
Maybe schedule some work sessions immediately after town meeting to at least put the whole process in motion.
I think we should do that.
And I'm thinking, you know, like waste reduction, the haulers, if they're willing to participate, transfer station, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna take some sort of hashing out, I think.
Yeah. And then
But
you,
not a subcommittee.
no subcommittee, and then Thomas, you can take credit for having solved the trash problem in town.
That is not what I'm looking for. There
You've
is no
earned it.
solving the trash.
You
problem.
earned it, though.
I think you'd get a statute for that.
Oh, God. Ken and Thomas, are you okay with this path?
Reluctantly, okay.
Yeah, if there's like a strong commitment to making like a purposeful change, I'm very on board.
Okay.
And it may be that at the end result of that stakeholder meeting is that, you know, we make a recommendation to do away with green bags.
Yeah.
You know, that's gotta be on the table.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's almost the starting point. And then it's
Yeah.
how do we keep them?
Right, yeah, perhaps, yeah.
Okay. So,
I
is that
seconded.
clear?
it.
You seconded. Did you catch that, Neil?
I did.
That we're gonna do
Yeah.
100
So the tipping fee is 100.
to match the.
Bag prices stay the same.
Mhm.
As soon as town meeting's over,
We're regrouping on
concerted
this.
effort to
Yeah,
have a plan by September 1 at the latest. Maybe.
at the latest, I think
And that
so.
plan might be to do away with green
Yeah,
bags,
a
or it
recommendation.
might be to a recommendation by,
Recommendation, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
and then you have enough time to put a actual.
Do some.
think
plan
that makes
into
sense, and I
place.
don't want to diminish what people, I know we don't have like much to show for it, but we have talked a lot about this, and Thomas and others, many others have put a lot of thought and like trying to, you know, find numbers and data is very difficult because it doesn't really exist. And so we have worked on it. We just haven't made a ton of progress, which leaves us in this position.
I think also most meaningfully is increasing staff at the transfer station to try to alleviate and help us on it.
that, some of that could also be covered by bag prices. If
Yeah,
that's,
right.
if that's,
Mhm.
that would probably pay for itself. We also, if you're doing fully compliant bags, you're probably looking at additional recycling trends. So need to be ready for that.
Okay. Do we need to vote on, the final? We're voting
Um,
on,
Now it needs to go to Webster. So, but if you're in agreement,
Oh,
then
yeah.
you would officially vote after a public hearing. But if
okay,
you're
so we have
set with
consensus.
this
Yep.
All right,
to go to public hearing.
thank you all for that discussion. So the pay by bag price, I think
Stays
we
the same.
can, yeah, so that's number 2 in our old business, though. I think
Oh,
we're,
you've done.
we'll put a
So we
pin
don't
in
need to
that.
vote, 'cause we're not changing.
Right, exactly. Okay. And, okay, that brings us to, oh, Dan, thank you. I think
Yeah,
you're,
thank you.
thank you.
Unless you want to stay.
Sorry to take so much time. Do you have a question?
It's not gonna snow. That's the latest.
Well, we're not doing public comment, so, we are soon, but can we just, unless it's a question, you can comment on trash, yes, unless you have a question. If you, I mean, when we do public comment, you can, unless it's a question for Dan. Do you have a comment or question for him?
No.
Okay, if you can just. All right, well, why don't we move up public comment then, since we have people online?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. We'll open it up now. We'll put a hold on our, on our old business, sorry.
Ken Susi, 644 Brockway Road, Hopkinton. Couple things. I'm in agreement with you. There's a select board member that brought up compliance, and confrontation. I've seen it at the transfer station, being a customer there. What the employees do, they walk away, which I would do too, because no one wants to get beat up doing their job. That's a serious issue. I've only seen it a handful of times, but it's serious. Myself personally, I'm guilty of hiring an out-of-town contractor to haul my trash because I don't do the green bags. I've lived here since June 19th, 1966. I actually ran the bulldozer at the dump when it was a landfill, so I've been around a while. I don't know everything, but I've been around. I don't have the answers. I know the green bags are an issue. My wonderful neighbors across the street, when they moved up from Manchester, thought the green bags were too expensive and they burned their trash. And that's a very pleasant odor to deal with
Oh.
for 4.5 years. I let the authorities take control of it, and finally it went away. For 4.5 years, though, my house smelled like a burning dump. I had thoughts about what I could do to those burning dump people. They weren't pleasant. So think about that with the price increase, because we are paying taxes to run the town. Part of the town is a transfer station. Trash is a nasty business. We also, if you do the bags, now you're paying to subsidize a taxed entity. And now I have to pay a hauler, and that's my convenience to have someone else haul my trash for me, because I don't have time. I work 6.5, 7 days a week. You know, we're a mom and pop landscape company in this town, and you know, the struggles are real. We can talk about this. I would love to be approached by you people to sit down and talk. I mean, I'm not a bad person usually. You know,
You should come to our meetings and share your thoughts on green bags.
that's why we're here tonight. But I would like to, I think it was 20 years ago, I ran for selectman. And they had a thing at the senior center, and I shoveled the town building walkways. They were short-staffed. I did that and all that, and I saw a big table set up. And I saw Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so. My name, Mr. Thusi. And I was like, what did my dad do? Well, apparently there was a meet the candidates thing, and I wasn't told about it. So that's a warm, fuzzy feeling when you're running for selectman and you don't get invited to the party. I still got 300 votes, so there was that. So, but I'd be willing to volunteer to help you guys out as best I can from the, I'm not saying this, but from the other side, from, not you people live in town too. I know where you guys pretty much live, so, I'm here to help. If you want help, I'm here to help. I've lived here. I've got kids, I've got grandkids. They're in this town.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We kind of want to stay here, and if it helps other people, well, that's kind of what I do. I was on the fire department and ambulance for 8 years, so I help people, I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert, but I'm willing to work. So
Well, thank
thank
you
you
for
very
that.
much.
Anyone? Oh, we got hands on there. Okay. I don't know who went up first. Bonnie?
Yeah, they're in order.
Okay. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi. I have COVID, so my voice isn't great,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but I wanted to thank you for all the work that you're doing on this. I think this is why it hasn't happened before now, because it is incredibly complicated, but I'm very grateful for all the hours that you guys are putting in, for Dan's input and Jolene's and everybody else's. My only recommendation at this point is we talk about green bags. Should we keep them? Should we get rid of them? It's not really the green bags, it's waste reduction that we're trying to achieve. So what we need to do is focus on unit-based pricing. Green bags is one form of unit-based pricing. Having stickers is another form of unit-based pricing. Weighing each bag is unit-based pricing. You can pick what you want, but if we are going to have a discussion about getting rid of green bags, hand in hand, we have to talk about, well, what would we use in its place? And from everything I've read and heard from NRRA is the bags are the least labor intensive, staff intensive way to do unit-based pricing, because you don't have to have somebody handing out the stickers. You don't have to have somebody looking for a small sticker on a bag. You don't have to have somebody weighing pounds per trash or doing a punch card. All you have to do is look and see if there's a colored bag, and if there isn't, then it's not in compliance. So I guess just my main comment is, as we talk about the bags, let's talk about what would we do instead? What would be better, and what system has been proved to achieve trash reduction? So again, thank you for all your work on this. It's impressive, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Bonnie. I hope you feel better. Dan?
I'm gonna say, I agree with her, but the green bags needs to be a Webster as well situation, or you still have staffing issues. Just throw that out there.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about that with Webster. 1 sec, Mark is unmuted, and then you. Thank you. Hi, Mark.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Mark Zankel, Rowell Road. Yeah, thanks for this discussion, and just echo Bonnie, thanks for all the time and effort you're putting into it, even though it may feel like you haven't gotten as far as you want. It's good that you're talking about it. I just want to make a few points. I was on the committee that set up the green bags when it was first passed to town meeting. And I'll just say for me, status quo, which I think is basically what you're talking about tonight, is a little disappointing. One place where I just would respectfully differ with, I think a point that you made a couple of times, Thomas, and that Bonnie just made, is that when green bags were passed, it's not just about waste reduction. That's certainly a laudable goal and could conceivably be an outcome if it was actually enforced. But it also is a user fee. If you generate and dispose of more trash, that costs the town more money. And so you pay more through your green bags. If you generate and use less trash, whether it's recycling or composting or whatever you do, then you pay less because it costs the town less to dispose of it. So waste reduction is a good goal, but that wasn't the only thing. And without green bags as a revenue source, you still got to pay to run the transfer station and dispose of the trash. So the revenue then comes from another mechanism, which essentially is additional broad-based taxation rather than the user fee. So I just want to make sure that that point doesn't get lost in the conversation. And then third thing I just would offer is around compliance. And I really, I feel like the town voted for green bags. The town has revoted to keep green bags in place. I don't know how many times, at least a couple, maybe 3. And as long as that's in place, you as a select board, I feel like should be following the will of the voters. And the voters have said, this is the program that we want. And I think your role is to say, let's actually try to make it work, which in my mind means compliance. And I've heard all the reasons why we're not doing that, or we can't do that, or it's too hard, or we don't have enough staff. And I fully appreciate that we may not have enough staff at the transfer station, but I do think there is a pathway to more compliance. And it's stickers, like you were talking about earlier, having everyone have a sticker. It's education. It's setting a date to say we are going to bring this back online. And then it's some kind of at least spot checking. If you start spot checking, which doesn't necessarily require a full-time person doing it all the time, and you turn people away, over time, people will start to, they'll either get green bags and dispose in Hopkinton, or they'll dispose elsewhere. So, in my mind, you can do this. You can try this. Right now, we're not giving it a fair shake. And I'm not actually saying we should necessarily have green bags forever. There may be a better path. But while we have it in place, I feel it's incumbent upon the select board to actually try to implement the program that the voters have repeatedly voted for. Thanks very much for considering my thoughts.
Thanks, Mark. Kristen?
I also echo the thanks for the discussion, and I realize it's a complicated, ongoing issue. And I think with complex systems like waste management, it's worth the effort to trial innovative or bold ideas, even if they maybe have been approached before in the past. I think there's always space to try to improve something. So I think that is worthy effort, and I think the crux of the comment too about Webster, about the green bag program being universal to the transfer station. That problem with moving or at least trialing something like a curbside, it solves a little bit for that, because of the users coming from 2 different towns, which is complicated from a compliance enforcement perspective. So I just think keeping an open mind and approaching a complicated problem like this, and approaching it with innovation, I think is worthy. And I would also be happy to join this work. Really, thank you all.
Thank you. Anyone else online? You can comment on things besides trash too. This is our public comment moment. All right. Don't see any hands there. Everyone good in the audience? All right. So that will end our public comment. We have a few more items, but if people are leaving or tuning out, thank you for joining us. We always appreciate when people come to our meetings. Thank you, Dan. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so next under old business is finalizing the 2024 town meeting warrant.
Yes. So
Wait, do I make the motion to add the removing green bags now?
you can do
could,
that. There's enough room to add one more warrant article if we really have to. So this is where you go through each warrant and vote to recommend or not recommend. And you generally assign who's speaking.
Can I ask a question on that?
No.
So there is still a petition warrant article for setting transfer station prices.
There is.
So do they present that or do we present that?
They generally do, but
Okay.
often it's up to the board, but often the board has someone who speaks.
A response.
Okay.
Comments on it.
Got it.
Yeah.
You know, I love talking about trash.
I think you just signed yourself up, Thomas.
I know. Our town council is like, of course you're talking trash.
So Jeff's off, so all of our things will be 4-0. That's not ideal.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Shoot.
I have two versions. One is 5-0, one is 4-0. Not to making any assumptions. I can change it.
I think we can call him up and have him step aside to vote.
Does he have to do it now? Could he?
I think so.
You have to
Yeah.
do it in a meeting, and yes, you have to
Mhm.
do it now because this has to be posted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
oh well.
I'll start with Article 3. Let me just say what my thoughts on this are. We've talked about this at least twice.
Mhm.
I'm not in favor of SB2. I think that while it may make it easier for everyone in town to cast a vote on election day, my personal experience with it is that it results in less informed voters because people, they just don't go to the deliberative session. You know, they're given the choice of going to just cast your ballots on election day, you know, or going to deliberative first and then casting your ballots. And my anecdotal sort of observation is that most communities where this is adopted, people just show up to vote and they don't show up to the deliberative session. And so as a result, you get people that show up on voting day and they don't necessarily have a good grasp of what they're voting on.
Or they actually don't show up.
Or they don't
There's
show up.
evidence showing that it actually decreases.
The other thing I would say about SB2 is that it does give a small number of people an outsized ability to make very significant changes to the warrant at the deliberative session, because if not many people are showing up, it just takes a small group of organized individuals to make really, really serious changes.
That was the experience at Campton School.
Campton, yeah,
Last year?
half the school budget was cut, yeah. So for all those reasons, I'm not in favor of the
Croydon.
town
It's Croydon.
or
Correct, thank you.
adopting SB2.
Something.
And I would make a motion to not recommend this article.
I'll second.
Just-
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Thomas.
I didn't say to add to that, at least when I first moved to town, it was extremely helpful to be in a room with people, hearing them talk about stuff. And then also I think it's worth noting too, that during COVID, when we did have drive-through voting, which is more or less a replica of what SB2 would have been, the SB2 articles also still failed. So I don't think there's much of an argument that if people could vote, they would want SB2. Because when they had that option, it still did not pass.
Yeah.
I was also just looking up, there's an article in the Concord Monitor from like a couple weeks ago about Pittsfield. And the select board member, I don't know if it was a chair or someone on the select board, was commenting that since they adopted SB2, all around, their voter turnout has gone way down. And this is like, we did a deep dive a couple years ago when this issue was up, and there's both anecdotal evidence, like overwhelming, and data, I think, to back up the fact that it does not increase turnout, and it has many, many problems. And that's not to say that our model with traditional town meeting is perfect by any means, but I do get the sense that people hold up SB2 as like the solution and that it's as simple as like, oh, now we can just vote on a ballot, but it's not that simple. And it seems like towns, especially smaller towns that have adopted it, like largely regret it. So yes, I'm also against it. And so I think we have a motion and a second to not recommend. So all those in favor of not recommending, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that's unanimous.
And I'd be happy to speak to this.
Okay.
Will you do the
Thank you for
public
that.
hearing? Speak at the public hearing?
No, we're just taking input at the public hearing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't remember how we've done it.
No, I think we do. speak
No,
about it.
I said that facetiously.
Oh,
I
okay,
think we
okay,
did a
good.
couple
Okay.
slides to explain it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Or help with that.
I feel like maybe you did do slides a couple years ago, Steve.
I did, and it was during COVID, I remember.
Okay,
Yeah, but I'm happy to do it again.
okay.
I even have the same slides. That'd be nice.
I definitely have them.
Oh, good. And yes, I'd love to do it.
Okay, good. Okay. Article 4 is the budget.
The, just the question for you, Neil, on the budget committee recommends 9-0. There was an abstention.
No, there wasn't.
Well, he wasn't, his phone died.
So he wasn't there, so it was 9-0.
Oh, okay, I want to understand. Yeah.
As abstention says something totally different. It
okay.
says you were there and chose not to vote. He was
Mhm.
not present. So
Okay.
all the votes were 9-0 on the budget committee.
Okay. So with that, I'll move, we approve Article 4, the operating budget.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thomas is going to do the presentation.
Thanks, Thomas.
No, I will do that, obviously. And similarly on Article 5, appropriation of capital reserve funds, the budget committee was 9-0, and I'll move the select board similarly recommend approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And again, I'll present. Article 6, appropriation to expendable trust funds. Again, budget committee was 9-0. I'll move, we recommend approval of this.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
right, it's unanimous.
There's Neil, there's I think a addition error on that one,
Oh, yes.
the total.
Oh, I fixed it in one version. It's 102.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, going back to Article 3, it'll say the select board does not recommend the Article 4-0, right?
Yes.
Because I know we've talked about that in the past. I think we-
Select board does not
Not recommend
recommend, and does not recommend is in bold, just like
And it's-
recommend is in bold.
Okay,
on the
and then
others.
will be 4-0. Okay. Okay, so pay by bag. This is generally an easy one. I'm happy to take this. So I would move that we recommend this article to expend the pay by bag special revenue fund.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Senior Center, I'll recommend this one too.
I'll
We
second.
expend the senior center rentals special revenue fund. All right, Ken seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay. Adoption of Hopkinton Community Power.
There was just another sentence added on to the end of this to, I think, make it a little more explanatory even. And we've talked about it before, so I'll just move that we recommend adoption of the Hopkinton Community Power Plan.
A second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's
And
unanimous.
Mark Zankel will be presenting.
Okay.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Mark.
Mark, you agree, I hope.
Okay,
Too late.
next is the refuse disposal agreement.
So you'll notice this is no longer contains the whole agreement. Which feels better. It was also recommended. Webster first, their counsel said that, and our counsel and their counsel are in the same office, so we sent them to talk to each other, and this is what we came up with, so we match. And we will
Excellent.
attach, there'll be available, the red line copy as well as the final copy of the agreement. Well, and as it says on the, it'll be posted here on the website and in the town report.
Great. I'm happy to
Oh,
take this
you
one.
know what? And Jeff needs to be voluntold that he's presenting on some of these.
Yeah.
Said on, Jeff won't be there.
Yeah.
Oh.
my God.
He said at the fair meeting, he's out of town.
What?
Tonight,
Oh, that's a shame.
Fiji or somewhere. Where
Yeah.
was he gonna be?
so-
No, it's something very weird.
It's somewhere in Asia, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh, okay.
Ugh, okay.
So
I'm happy to take the Article 10.
Thank you.
I will second that.
Could we-
Or you're moving it?
I'm moving.
I'll second it. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Next is a modification of the elderly exemption. Why are we modifying?
we're
Oh, because-
modifying it so
With the
because the
reval.
valuation's changing.
Okay,
So the main change from now is the amount, the 240, the 295 and the 340
So
are up.
240 had been. What did 240 been? What is it now compared to 240?
I think it was 120. I think it doubled.
So it doubled
basically,
it.
to match what we anticipate the reval will be. So it should be the same dollar amount,
Yeah.
more or less.
But the net income is not changing, and is that due to the state?
Is what?
The net income, the 50,000.
That is not changing unless you want to change it.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Could we change it, or was that something that the state?
No,
puts the
you can
limit on?
change that. But when we discussed it before, you didn't.
Mhm.
But if you want to.
okay. So this is relatively straightforward. I feel like last time we had an exemption, Anna presented on it.
Oh, maybe. We changed them before and we did a lot of research at that
Right.
point
So this is just a simple change because of the,
because of the reval. And if you don't do it this year, those people are
Gonna
going
get
to see their
They're stuck.
taxes go up dramatically.
Yeah.
The people that can afford that the least.
is anyone itching to speak on this?
I mean, I think I was just looking at what's left here to try to determine.
Yeah.
We got hand counts, transfer station fees, and these two exemption ones.
You take
Yep.
transfer station
I'll
fees?
definitely take transfer station fees.
Okay.
I'm also happy to take hand count ballots
I
too.
can,
I was gonna say, I've only done one,
Someone
so. I'm happy to do hand counts or do the two exemption ones.
okay. So Thomas will do, do you mind doing the exemption, Stephen?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think I
so
did, I think I presented this at a prior meeting. I might have.
I
done
feel
it.
like you
Sounds right.
have, yeah.
So yeah, I can do,
Those slides too.
I love this, yeah. I can do the elderly exemption and I'll also do the disabled
Okay,
exemption as well.
thank you. Okay, so you'll move,
And I will, yeah, sorry. And I'll move that we recommend Article 11, the elderly exemption.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And disabled.
And I will also move, we recommend Article 12, the disabled exemption.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous.
That will mean we do not recommend the transfer station fees.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of not recommending
Can I
that?
just just so I have two questions about this one before we make a recommendation. Sorry. First of all, do we know from council if this is advisory or would it be binding?
They are still reviewing that.
Okay.
But basically she said it needs to go on the warrant this way.
Oh, yeah.
And
Just so I'm sort of clear, whoever's moving this, what's the rationale to not or recommend it?
So my rationale to not recommend it, is that one of the main purposes of the greenback program and pay as you go is effectively, as Mark illustrated, as a user fee. In those cases, we're trying to have the coverage, the cost of the waste cover, not just the tipping fee, but also all of the other structures and staffing and capital maintenance and all of the things that go into it. This effectively handicaps us and stops our ability to cover those costs by just saying it has to cover the tipping fee.
So are you reading into transfer station fees, green bags?
No. I'm just saying that there are many scenarios where it's very advantageous and to set a price that isn't based on just the tipping fee. And this says we can only do one thing. So it really handicaps our ability to have any other structures of cost. And so like in that sense, I'm just really not in favor of something that's very, very specific and doesn't really give us much options in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just, I agree with what Thomas just said, that the $100 that we had agreed upon for the time being, what would it be capped at under this?
well, the $100 would be
It's almost
about $102.
Yeah.
So it's actually cheaper than that. So they may withdraw it or.
That's what I was wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Can they withdraw it?
On the
Oh,
floor.
on the floor. Okay. Yeah. My guess is they probably would. But
Okay, so you moved to not recommend. Does
I'll
that need a
second.
second? Steve,
I'll
a
second.
All right, all is in favor of not recommending this? Aye. It's unanimous. I can take the hand count. I only have two others.
Well, that's gonna be good.
It'll be fine. So I don't think we should recommend this. I think we've
Same.
had this before.
Same question, Neil. Is this deemed advisory or binding?
We haven't gotten a ruling on that,
Okay.
although the way I read the statute, it seems like it would be. It says the select board shall.
I know.
Okay.
Did you move to not recommend?
Yes, I did.
I second.
All those in favor of not recommending hand count ballots?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Okay. And then it's only any other legal business.
Here's the warrant, which matches. I have a couple ones, just depending on how you vote. You voted the way I thought.
we still have a hearing on SB2.
Yes.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about because we have
In
to
a
change
second.
our.
So the only change I will make is I will correct this typo that I must have made somewhere, but. That's. Still get Jeff to sign the warrant.
Okay.
Or we.
Okay. So next, we just have one more thing under old business, 2023 financial numbers unaudited.
You have them, no real changes. These are pretty much. Final until they're audited. Everything
Okay.
is pretty much entered at this point, so. You have them. We're pretty much exactly where we thought we would be. No real changes, but I wanted you to have the final numbers.
I agree that we came out, looks like, very close to where we were expecting. I had a couple of questions about the revenue account 3404 refuse.
Pull it up because I seem to have expenses, but no revenues.
Was waiting on, make sure you had it. Landfill reimbursement, Webster, is there, the under-collected at 24,000, is that just a timing thing?
What's it show coming in?
Year-to-date revenue, 105,000.
I know that's probably accurate, which meant we must have underspent somewhere. Which we actually did in engineering. Because we only build them, we actually spend.
Okay. Okay, then, landfill commercial, again, about 25,000 uncollected.
That might be a timing thing.
Is that line, landfill commercial?
It's 3404.
That's still in 34.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Would that be where, haulers would be, their revenues?
That's what that is, yeah.
Okay. And recycling is down significantly. Is that timing or just?
The rates and the amounts.
And pay by bag revenue, guess we didn't collect enough.
We transferred that much. So there's still some money in there, but we're still over revenue, so.
Okay, that was all.
We good to move on? Thank you. All right, new business, budget hearing follow-up.
Okay, well, as you know, at this point, the budgets were approved unanimously. Certainly was concerns about the increases and, where they're going, and a lot of questions about the transfer station and what we're doing there. Same things as came up tonight. So I'm glad that we're at least, trying to put a date on when we're going to have some kind of recommendation. And the thought had come up about, looking for donors for what I'll call special or extra projects. And, that's why I mentioned about the skateboard park. And it was a question coming up about, impact fees. And, Neil has explained to me why it doesn't make sense, but that may be something that, next year I'll ask you to, talk about.
We'll actually look at that soon and bring something to you.
Okay.
A sort of a written explanation, probably right after town.
Okay. So unless there were some questions, I didn't have anything else.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thought you did a great job, and like I said earlier, I felt like the budget committee, there were just some really good, thoughtful comments. I had to leave partway through, but I tuned back in at home, and a lot of these issues there's just no good solution. And I thought that the discussion was great among the budget committee, and just some really excellent on-point comments by budget committee members. So,
Yes.
and I thought the school did an excellent job as well. Rob Nato did a great job. So thank you to the whole budget committee. All right, anything else on that? We good? Okay, so the March select board meeting schedule, we're flipping things a little bit.
That works. There's not enough of you in town to have a quorum on the 26th of February. So my recommendation is you meet the first Monday, which is the 4th, and the third Monday, which it must be the 18th. Instead of the 2nd and 4th, which kind of divides that out. It also means you're not meeting the night before the voting, when you're there all day and when we have to set up, but you will meet the week after voting, but before the business town
Right.
meeting session
Okay.
on Thursday. So that seemed to work if that works in your schedule.
And we'd have the SB2 public hearing on March 4th.
And that's the other thing. The SB2 hearing was going to be on that February 26th date. And this would put it on the 4th, which is still within the 15 to 30 days required.
Select board meeting the 4th,
And the 18th.
Yes, 4th and 18th,
but not the 11th.
correct.
Just triple checking.
So our next meeting is March 4, nothing.
Correct.
Yeah, because it's school vacation week, that last week of Feb.
And that will be the public hearing also.
Okay. Is everyone good with that?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Neil. Any town administrator updates?
Sure, just a couple quick ones, some of which I have on here twice, so it'll be quicker. Houston Barn is done. It looks
Oh.
great. They did a great job with the roof. That's really good. Our new executive assistant grant coordinator Beverly started on Wednesday.
Nice.
It's really nice. Projects get done much faster. So, which is really good. So, she seems to have fit in well here and is settling in. And, so, I'm excited about that. I included in the packet the evaluation form for me, although you've never used that form, but that's our official one. But it's that time of year. We're all doing our evaluations right now. It's probably really, we kind of need that at your next meeting, the 4th, so we know where to fit it into the whole overall. And the only other thing, other than that, it's been budget and all of those normal crazy. It's been a little crazy here. I don't know why. And then I put in front of you a vote to amend our ARPA grant with NHDS. Our deadline is June of this year. And the solar won't be done. So this would add another year to that deadline, but it doesn't mean the project will be any longer. We still expect to have it done this year. But it requires this vote. And then it has to go to the governor and council again.
Okay, so, do I have to, I was gonna make the motion. Do I have to read it?
You don't, you
Okay.
can, as long as you move it and
I'll move it as written. Thank you, Steve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
and that is it.
Thank you. Okay. Does anyone have anything for other? Okay, so we have two non-publics, one under 91A3 2A personnel and one under 91A3 2C reputation. And so we'll go into non-public and afterwards we will adjourn and will not conduct any other business. And so it's a roll call vote and I'll move, we go into non-public.
Second,
Okay, I mean, yes, Ken?
yes.
Steven?
We specify the reasons for going. into-
Yes, I move we go into non-public under RSA 91A32A for personnel. Is that
So,
good?
Yes.
Okay,
we want to do it under, mention both of them at once. Let's see. for
or do them
repetition.
separately. I'll do them separately. Okay, so it's a roll call vote for the first one. Ken's a yes, Steven.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And then I will also move, we go into a second non-public under 91A32C for reputation.
A second,
Okay, I'm a yes, Ken,
yes.
Steven.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone who joined us tonight.
Thank you.